Hey everyone from South Florida, I'm Dave.
And I'm Q here in Dallas.
And we're going to talk about a buzzword, patterns and anti-patterns. So how can they help you, your team, your organization with better ways of working?
Better ways of working.
All right, so if you've been in Agile for a while, you'll hear the term pattern and its opposite anti-pattern. So for me, let's start with some definitions. So for me, a pattern is a solution to a problem in context. And sometimes these problems are very similar across different companies and even different industries. So a group will get together and they'll say, well, when you see this, this is the solution that you should try. We call that a pattern. And an anti-pattern is like the opposite. It's problems that you're actually not solving or you're creating problems. And that's what we mean by anti-pattern. Is that what comes to your mind, Q?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, do we need all these buzzwords? I'm not too sure, but I'll let you elaborate first.
Well, the reason why I bring this up is because, first of all, not everybody understands the buzzwords. So even though you and I do, I hear other people bring them up, and then I'm thinking in my mind, one of two things or both. One, that's not really pattern or an anti-pattern if somebody calls it out. And then two, the other people may not understand what they're talking about. For example, a sprint is going to be 11 days and instead of 2 weeks or something weird. And then somebody's going to say, that's an anti-pattern, right? But I mean, a sprint can be anywhere from a month or less. So if a team wants to do 11 days, let them do 11 days. Like, why do we have to use this like a bingo chip, right?
No, and I agree. You know me, I hate lingo because I think lingo is very exclusionary. It's going to exclude everybody who doesn't understand the lingo. And people use the lingo itself to propagate the myth that they know what they're doing, just because they're blowing a lot of lingo in there. I would say, and we always advise this, if you're going to use Scrum, the sprint has to be as short as possible. So a month is a pretty long period of time. Should I do it 2 months? I cannot think of any situation where 2 months would be justifiable. Maybe there is, okay? But I'm not going to call something an anti-pattern or whatever stupid buzzword you're going to use just because I think it's a bad idea. I have to have data to substantiate that, knowledge to substantiate that. And if I do, I would rather explain to somebody why it may not be a good idea instead of label it some name that maybe is the first thing that somebody heard of it. So can we have a sprint, for instance, that's 8 days in length? I can't see why not. Maybe there's a good reason for it. Instead of calling it an anti-pattern and throwing in people's face, well, that's an anti-pattern. We heard that so many times, right? Wouldn't it be better if you first ask the person, what's the reasoning that led you guys to adopt this? Okay, then if the reasoning makes sense, okay, great, I just learned something else. If the reasoning doesn't make sense, maybe we need to dig a bit deeper. But just throwing buzzwords to the wind, including anti-pattern or pattern, doesn't help anybody.
Right.
It absolutely doesn't help anybody.
In fact, it kind of confuses people. So you might be doing more harm than good. But I like what you said, ask the why, have the conversation, step back and look at the principles of what you're trying to do, whether it's lean or agile, right? There's principles in lean as well, pursuit of perfection, etc. Visualizing the work, things like that, and flow. And of course, there's 12 agile principles. We won't get into them, but have the conversation. Hey, don't just try to be the police handing out tickets or whatever.
And one of the things I love in lean is called humble inquiry, which is ask, hey, do you mind explaining to me why you got your teams decide to do this way?
Yeah, like Gemba walks too, right? Yeah, Gemba walks.
And actually, humble inquiry is part of a Gemba walk. You go watch the work of other people. You have to be very humble and say, hey, I don't know. That's the first time I'm here. And so I'm here to listen to people, talk to people, ask questions, and etc. Don't go throwing buzzwords on people, either pattern or anti-pattern. That's all buzzwords. Understand the reason why people are doing things. And sometimes it's because they don't know better. They haven't been exposed to different ideas. They haven't been exposed to different industries. and try to understand not the practice, but the principle behind the practice.
So important.
Right? Because best practice is another dumb buzzword that nobody can actually explain to me what it is. The principle is what matters.
Right.
That's what matters. It's not the buzzword, it's not the practice, it's the principles. So I don't like buzzwords. I don't like to throw buzzwords at people, just confuse them. Actually, I'm going to make a lot of people in the defensive because of that. Having a conversation, understanding the problem, coming up with solutions that involve everybody in the discussion, including the people who've been doing this sometimes way longer than you are. And yeah, you may have seen something that they don't. How many people here play chess, in the front of the, look at the stuff for an hour, and then somebody say, hey, did you see this?
Yeah.
And you want to kill the person, right? Because like,
Right.
oh crap, I didn't see that. But that's a conversation.
Right.
That's the conversation. Forget the buzzwords. Buzzwords do not get you any good result.
Right. And to close this out, I just want to be clear, although I'm anti-buzzword, the patterns itself, there's actually been folks working for years and they've collected a lot of great agile and scrum patterns, right? And it's the pattern community. I'm a big fan of the content, so please don't get me wrong here, right? I will look at the patterns every once in a while because I find it helpful. But I just don't want to throw them out there and just, here you go, this is the way you're supposed to do it.
Which I should say, I have nothing against the patterns. I have something against the buzzword.
Right. I agree.
We learn from other people. We identify things that are common trends amongst different processes and industries and etc. We don't need to throw a buzzword in there. That's what I wanted to say.
Humble, explain, have a conversation. Great stuff's going to happen. So thanks for sticking with us. Please like and subscribe. We are excited to see our subscriber count go up, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.